Hello students, today we are going to begin with the second part of our chapter, Two Stories About Flying, and the name of the second chapter is The Black Aeroplane. You remember in the first part, the first flight, we had discussed the story of a young seagull who had learned how to fly. And now in the second aeroplane, we see there's a pilot who is flying the plane over France and he is going to his home, England. And he's dreaming about having a nice holiday and having a nice breakfast. Let's begin with the chapter. The moon was coming up in the east behind me. The stars were shining in the clear sky above me. Now this is the time of midnight and he is flying his aeroplane in the sky. The sky is dark. East is behind him. The stars are shining in the clear sky. Clear sky means that there are no clouds and there is no possibility of any rain. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. Not a single cloud was there in the sky. It was absolutely clear and the best for any pilot to fly a plane. I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. And he's actually enjoying his flight because he is enjoying the thought that the people are sleeping and he's flying his plane here. Sleeping countryside is the outskirts of the city, the rural part of the city, and sleeping because it's night time, so obviously these people in their homes below are sleeping. I was flying my old Dakota airplane over France back to England. And the plane he was flying is known as Old Dakota. It was an old plane. It was not a very sophisticated and modern plane. And he was flying this plane over France back to England. He was going back to his home, that is England. I was dreaming of my holiday. And actually, he had planned for a holiday. So he's dreaming about that. He's getting nostalgic about it and looking forward to being with my family. So after a long time, maybe that he is meeting his family and he'll be holidaying there with his family. So he is dreaming about it. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning, and it's 1:30, and so he's there flying the plane in perfect air. I should call Paris control soon. Now Paris is about to come. That means he would pass Paris. So obviously he is going to talk to the Paris control personnel there. I should call to Paris control soon, I thought. As I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane, I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. You know, Paris is a very big city, and he could see the lights blaring from downwards, and he understood that it is Paris, and now he has to contact the Paris control room to uh, give them his location. I switched on the radio and said, you know, that the radio signals are to be transferred when you have to give a message from an aeroplane. So he put on his radio to talk to them. So I switched on the radio and said, Paris Control, Dakota DS-088 here. So which plane he is flying here? Dakota DS-088. So I am here and please see my location and guide me. I'm on my way to England. And what is my destination? I am flying to England. So you can give me the necessary guidelines. You know that these radio control rooms guide you according to the air traffic. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. So there was an immediate response. That means all the gadgets were working right. DS-088, I can hear you. So they are able to hear him and they have given a reply. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS-088 over. And what they are guiding him, that you ought to turn 12 degrees west and then you will move forward in that direction, and then you would be on your right track. And over. That means the message is over now. I checked the map and the compass. Now, you know, the map and the magnetic compass are the ones which help them find the direction. Switched over to my second and last fuel tank. Now, there one thing to be kept in mind here is that right now he has switched to his second and as well as last. So it is second also and the last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west as it was guided by the air control, and he started moving towards England. I'll be in time for breakfast. Now he is thinking, again, everything is fine. There are no clouds, nothing, and he's flying his plane nicely. And now he's thinking about the holiday and the time of reaching. So he's thinking that he'll be there at home at the time of breakfast. So he'll have a nice breakfast. I thought, a good big English breakfast. Now, the name of the breakfast itself aroused a lot of thoughts in his mind, and he started thinking about a very nice, sumptuous English breakfast. And obviously, with the family at home adds icing on the cake here. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. There was no turbulence, no problem in no rain, no clouds, no turbulence. So the plane was flying very smoothly. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me. Now he has already crossed Paris and now it is 150 kilometers behind. When I saw the clouds, suddenly, unfortunately, there are clouds now and very deep, dark clouds. And what kind of clouds here? Storm clouds. Stormy clouds are also there. That means they could be much more dangerous for his flight. They were huge and they were very, very huge. So it was not easy to just move past them or go higher or could be taking a direction left or right. So they were very huge. They looked like black mountains. And because they were very, very huge and dark, he has compared them with black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. And they were just before me across, covering the whole sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them. I could not do them. Could not do that. And I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. There are three directions in front. Either you go top and over them. That is not possible for him, maybe technically. Then moving to north or towards south, and you just go across them. So he's trying not across them, but going sideways and then crossing them safely. But he's saying that the problem is he had switched on to his last fuel tank, and now there is not enough fuel left for him to that he could do that. The only direction now left is backward. So he could have gone back to Paris, and that could have been a safe rescue here. But let's see what he has done. So I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to go to north or south. So again, the fuel is not enough. Now it's not a road that you can stop your vehicle here. It's a flight, and fuel is the most important here. I ought to go back to Paris. So there is one possibility, that is the best one, is going back to Paris. But I thought, but I wanted to get home. But the thought of going home and enjoying a nice breakfast with the family occupied him so much that he decided to take a risk. I wanted that breakfast. I'll take the risk. And you know, just for a breakfast, he is ready to take a risk. I thought, you know, sometimes emotions, you are so carried away by your emotions that you don't listen to your brain. So the same happens here, that I'll take the risk. I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm, straight inside it. inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. You know that they were very thick black mountain clouds. So as soon as he entered, it was everything black. He couldn't see anything now. I was it was impossible to see anything. So visibility was completely lost here. So to see anything outside the aeroplane, he could not see anything outside. So now he is completely dependent on his gadgets because he can himself not see anything out. So the old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. Now you know that if an aeroplane is moving in the clouds, then there's a turbulence, and as soon as there's a turbulence, you know that the aeroplane jumps and twists, and it becomes unsteady. If you would have also experienced this as soon as a plane moves into the clouds. So here his plane is jumping and twisting right now because it is a turbulent that he's facing. I looked at the compass. Which compass? Magnetic compass, to tell me the direction. I couldn't believe. What he couldn't believe? My eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. Magnetic compass should have been pointing towards any one direction which he would like to which, you know, it is always pointing towards, I think, the magnetic north. So it should be pointing to a proper direction and should be guiding him, but there was any malfunction here, and it started moving round and round and round. That means it was dead, it was not functioning properly, it would not work at all. The other instruments were suddenly dead, and apart from magnetic compass, the other instruments that could have guided him were also malfunctioning. They also became suddenly dead. So this is very unfortunate for him. Right now he can't see and the instruments are not working. I tried the radio. Now, if you yourself cannot find the direction, then you know that there is a radio control room, from Paris, and they could guide him that where to take the direction and all. So he started connecting to the radio signals. Paris control, can you hear me? So he is trying to talk to them so that he can get some guidance. There was no answer. The radio was dead too. Even he could not communicate through radio here, and even the radio signals were the radio could not connect, so it was also dead, it was malfunctioning. I had no radio. All these instruments are out of order. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. Now this is a very dangerous situation because here at this point you can it could be any mishap that could happen because you cannot see. So if you are just a degree or two in a wrong direction, suppose you have analyzed, you can it could prove very fatal here. So he is lost in the storm. I was completely lost in the storm. Then in the black clouds quite near me, suddenly something very unexpected and very mysterious happened. What is that? We can't believe this thing, but it is said to be true here. So then in the black clouds, quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. So to his pleasant surprise, in this unfortunate point of time, there was another aeroplane, and it had no lights on its wings. The strange thing is normally the aeroplane has lights on its wings, but here this one is not having it. Okay, fine. But I could see it flying next to me through the storm. But at least I could see it. Though earlier he was saying that visibility was almost lost. But because maybe it was flying very close that he was able to see it. And he could see its wings and he could see this aeroplane here. It could be flying next to me through the storm. I could see that. And I could also see the pilot's face. It is also very strange, maybe because the plane is flying very close, that he is able to see the pilot's face also. Turned towards me. I was very glad to see another person because the radio signals were not working. So now they would actually be physically communicating through gestures. So I could see the pilot's face turn towards me. I was very glad to see another person. When you are in a very, you're alone in a very grave situation where it could be very threatening, and if you get somebody also along with you, you get a lot of hope here. So this black aeroplane along with this pilot was a ray of hope for him, and it raised his spirits. I could see the pilot's face turn towards me. He lifted one hand and waved. That means he was much more willing to help him in some way. Follow me, he was saying, follow me. So we can imagine that maybe in that turbulence, he could not have been able to hear, but at least the gestures could have been read that he has to follow the pilot or the plane of the black aeroplane. So he is obviously ready to do that. He is already stuck in the storm. Follow me, he was saying, follow me. He knows that I am lost. I thought he's trying to help me, and he realized that this the pilot of this black aeroplane is trying to help me. Okay, he turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota. Now, have you ever happened to travel by car, and it could be a very strange place where you are, but it's very dark, you are not able to find the road, or you are not very comfortable, and you lack confidence. Then suppose you get another car or any other vehicle, what you do, you start following that. So that is a ray of hope, and it acts as a guidance for you. You just have to simply follow that vehicle as far as there is only one road and there is no bifurcation. So here also he has done the same, because after all he has to get out of this storm and he has to stay alive, so that it could be easier. So what the black aeroplane's pilot did, that he came in front of him and he started flying the plane just before him, and he has to just follow, so that it could be easier for me to follow. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. And now when you are completely lost, there is a ray of hope and somebody is leading you. You just have to follow. And the comparison made here is that you are following like an obedient child. You are already helpless, so you will just follow all the instructions and very faithfully follow the person. So here also he is following that aeroplane obediently. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. And he's also telling us the time that has elapsed, it is around half an hour. He is still following the plane. Now, is it everything all right, or is there again any other problem that you would be witnessing? If you remember, he had switched on to his second fuel tank. There was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. So the problem now is somebody is guiding you, you are following him, but the problem is that only the fuel left is for 5 or 10 minutes. So now you have to land somewhere or the other. I was starting to feel frightened again. So again, it was a frightful situation. But then he started to go down and I followed through the storm. Suddenly, this is very mysterious. How could this happen that a plane he is following also knew that the fuel tank is almost empty, and now he should go down and should land at any airport now very quickly. So this is something mysterious. We cannot give a rational answer to this. So but right now it is happening that he started going down because the black aeroplane also started going down, and I followed through the storm, and he couldn't see, so he's just following him ardently. Suddenly, I came out of the clouds and saw two long straight lines of lights in front of me. Now, on the ground, what are these lights? On the runway during the night, these lights help and guide the aeroplane to land. So, actually, it was an airport and the runway of the airport. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. So, can you see the exclamatory mark? He couldn't believe this, that he was safe. He has finally landed on Earth. And I turned to look for my friend. I was so happy that he guided me. And now he's looking for him. Where has he gone? So what happened? I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. He couldn't see any aeroplane. There was none, nothing, as though he has vanished in thin air. I could not see it anywhere. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. Okay, because I could not physically see the plane, so I decided that I obviously would come out of the plane, because now I already don't have fuel and this is a place where I can find some help. So, and the second thing, he would also inquire about the black aeroplane and his pilot, and he would really like to thank him, express his gratitude, because he has saved his life. It was just a narrow escape from death. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty and he could not see it anywhere. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. So finally, he is moving with a lot of expectations from the control tower, that he would like to say thank you. And it was also life for him. I went and asked a woman in the control center. Now, he did not know which place it was. He went inside the control tower and he asked a woman who was working there, that in the control center, where I was, that which is this place, first of all, and who the other pilot was who helped me, the pilot who was flying the black aeroplane. I wanted to say thank you to him, obviously. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. She looked at me like what weird I was doing, because there was nobody in the radar that she could locate. I was all alone. So she started laughing at me, that what kind of weird questions I am putting up. Another aeroplane up there in this storm? Who would go in this storm? He went it and took risk, because he was getting nostalgic and he wanted to take his English breakfast and he wanted to meet his family, so he took risk. Otherwise, who would go in this storm? Fear storm. No other planes are flying tonight. No other planes are obviously flying, because in such storm all the flights would have been cancelled. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So on the radar, yours was the only plane. There was no other plane. Now, what could it be? So, who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio, and without any more fuel in my tanks? Now, this is a very mysterious question, that who helped him. But the fact is, scientific fact is, that there was no other plane on the radar. That means there was no one. Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane? Who was that man flying in the storm without lights? So the answer here could be given in only one way, that on one hand, he could be hallucinating, and on the other hand, it was he himself. He was a very good pilot, and so it was his own conscience which was guiding him, and he could make this escape. He could come out of this storm and could land on this runway and this control room and this place, finally this airport. So it was his hallucination, and it was he himself who tried, because it is tough times. These are trying times, and you may not be aware about what you could do. So he unknowingly did it. on his own. These are the only rational answers that we can give. Otherwise, it could lead us to mystery. And scientifically, factually, there was no other aeroplane. So I hope you would have understood the chapter, that how this man, because he was wanting to meet his family, he took risk. That was an erroneous decision of him, but because he was a good pilot, he could have been able to come out of this storm. I hope you have understood this chapter. Please go through this chapter nicely and complete the question answers.